Good morning, hopefully happy Friday morning. Here, 11 a.m., we're in Savannah. I don't know where you are this morning as you're listening to us, or it may not even be a Friday morning that you're listening to us because this show comes live every Friday on WRUU LP 107.5 FM in Savannah, but you could be listening to us on a variety of other platforms. Excuse me. I just went into grouch mode. A number of other platforms at any time. That's the beauty of the internet and of streaming capabilities. So maybe you're joining us right now live on a Friday morning at 11 a.m. and you're listening to 107.5. Or you're on WRU.org and you're hearing the live stream. Or you're on SAVYouthMentoring.org and you're listening to this on a Tuesday, a Thursday. I don't know when you're going to pick it up, but wherever you are, whenever you listen to this, thank you for being here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us right now on the Savannah Youth Mentoring Hub radio podcast show. All that just to set the stage, because someone's going to listen and be like, who are these people? What are they talking about? What is going on? Who are these people? And that's what we do. Every week we come to you to highlight youth mentoring throughout Savannah, throughout Chatham County. We want to highlight organizations that are doing the work. We want to highlight people who might be doing the work through an organization, or people who just have a heart for youth mentoring and they share their experiences perhaps when they were a child and now that they're older and they're giving back and what that looks like. And if they have an organization that they're tied to, how do you get involved? So this show, just listen up. If you're a parent, you're going to hear about an organization that you might want to get your child involved with. If you are perhaps over the age of 18 and you want to give back and be involved in a youth mentoring relationship, you can do it at any time. You can also do it through an organization, which might create a little more of a framework that might be easier to get into. Well, you're going to hear about an organization that needs mentors and needs volunteers. So this whole thing, it's a whole strategy. And then there's that website, SAVYouthMentoring.org. That's a great resource. My name is Shaughnessy Cargile. I'm your host every Friday. And almost every Friday, I have somebody with me who can share a variety of things. So you don't just hear my voice, but you get to hear from another person. That's the goal. And so we have that today, thankfully. So across the desk from me is a young lady. I'm saying young. Does that sound derogatory, or is that?
No, I still consider myself a young adult.
Okay, a young adult. I don't know.
Just hit 30. So.
Okay, that classifies as young. I've just found, there's things that you learn when you're a kid. Mm-hmm. And how you're raised, and then as time goes on, and especially as culture kind of shifts or norms change, I realize, some of the things that I was raised to do don't hit the same way. Like I call everyone ma'am and sir. Like I call my daughter who's 10, yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you ma'am. And then I realize when I say it to other people out in the real world, some people are like, oh, that's offensive, don't call me ma'am.
I'm still getting used to children calling me ma'am.
Because it makes you feel like you're...
Yes, I'm the ma'am generation now.
You've reached ma'am generation status. All right, well, I won't say miss or ma'am or anything. I'll just say you introduce yourself a little bit. Don't tell us about the organization yet that you're involved with or the program, but let's get to the nitty gritty, okay? Introduce yourself, where are you from, and just tell a little bit about you. Yeah.
Well, oh gosh, I could probably go on.
Perfect.
With my extensive resume, but My name is Ambria Berksteiner. I am a native Savannian, so born and raised.
Savannian, not Savannite or Savannian.
Yes.
Okay, it's a good name, Ambria. That's unique.
Thank you. Like I said, born and raised here all of my life. I attended Spelman College and Auburn University. So I was a part of their dual degree engineering program, which was a great program to be a part of. And also I am the founder and executive director of Operation One STEM at a Time. And that is an organization that I started when I was Miss Savannah USA 2017-2018. So just a little snippet of my, leadership background. And I guess, should I hit some fun facts?
Let's do it. Fun facts. First, tell me just one fun fact, because I love everyone's name has a story behind it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the story is just like,
my name?
Yeah, but you have your name sounds extra unique.
Yes,
so just,
it is.
I don't know. There's got to be some kind of story.
Well, with it being Mother's Day, tribute to my mom who helped me start Operation One Step at a Time, and she actually passed of lung cancer 4 years ago. So passing of her death is actually on Mother's Day. So it's actually pretty funny that you asked me that, because she was an educator in the Savannah Chatham County Public School System. And so I am one of 4 girls, so my dad did not get his son. Sadly for him.
Did he try to turn y'all into boys?
Yes, he did, with all of just the monster trucks and all that. And my mom was like, they're girls, but we embraced it and teaching us how to fish and all that types of stuff. But,
okay.
So my sister, our oldest sister, I would say because I'm a twin. I have a fraternal twin sister.
Okay.
Hi, Amber, if you're listening. And so our older sister is 10 years older than us, and our middle sister is 7 years older than us. And so they were turning
That's a
11
pretty good range
when we were born.
Wow,
yeah. So
okay.
we were definitely surprises.
Okay.
And so
beautiful surprises.
Yes, double the blessing, I guess my mom would always say. But we were, when my mom found out she was pregnant with us, after she dried her tears of being an older mother with twins on the way, she thought about names. And it's pretty funny because she was an educator, and she taught a young girl, I believe she taught a young girl, and her name was Ambria. And her best friend, and she became friends with her mom, her name was Amber. And so my mom named us Amber and Ambria after that
cool ode
friendship bond.
To that friendship. Yeah.
Yes, and it's so funny whenever I see them out and about. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you all are hearing this, Amber and Ambria.
So you do see them?
Yes,
around?
So
Okay.
they're still around. I believe in Savannah. Yes, one of them is actually, like I said, a good friend. She's more like a god sister, Amber. Big Amber, I should say. And then Ambria, I'm not sure. I think Ambria is still in Savannah, Chatham County. So it's pretty funny when it's our birthday every year or whatnot. And so they're commenting under our posts and like, oh, our namesakes are, we're your namesakes. And so it's pretty fun to just, and lots of people always talk about how my mom was just a great educator. And they just always remember being in her 4th grade class at Garrison, or she taught at Hubert for a while, and all these, local middle schools and elementary schools in Savannah. And so, I have a piece of that, a part of my origin story.
That's cool. So if you already got like a cool name that's a little shorter, Ambria, does it get shortened into something else?
Yes. So
going through school, or
even though I have this whole story behind Ambria, fun fact, because Amber and Ambria, they're such, even though we're fraternal twins, we kind of don't look alike. Well, we do. We look similar, not identical.
Mm-hmm.
We still get mixed up as far as the names. They're like, I get called Amber a lot. She gets called Ambria. So my family and close friends will call me Bria. So actually, that is the name. I never hear Ambria from them.
Oh, Bria ends up being.
Yeah, Bria. Yeah. But I professionally are just kind of out and about Ambria, our school Ambria. So, but Bria is like my what do you call it when you're a superhero? Oh gosh, like Clark Kent.
Yeah, like your alter ego,
yes.
your. Okay, I like that. Yeah. You put on glasses for it, take glasses off to transition the hat. Yeah, I saw you mentioned going to school at Spelman and Auburn. Yes. You got a Georgia hat on. Mm-hmm. I was born in Alabama, but I'm Roll Tide. Yeah, I'm Roll Tide all day. And then when we moved to Georgia when I was in 3rd grade, and it was the same year that we had a TV. Mm-hmm. That was connected to cable, because the people who lived in the house that we rented previously, I guess, didn't turn their cable off. Mm-hmm. And that was still during a time period where, like, that would happen a lot. There were several times I remember moving somewhere and be like, oh, we still got cable for a month or two. And then they'd realize, probably now it would have a lot easier because they just know, like, oh, you still got cable. They turn it off from, online. But there they had to, like, come to your house. And so we had cable for a little while. And so I could watch sports. And so I became, like, inundated with like Georgia related sports, and I spent a lot of time, I don't know how much time, but I spent enough time like, oh, this team, that team, this sport, oh, this is amazing. Georgia Tech was like a big deal that year in particular. Mm-hmm. They were like the co-national champions. I just remember this. So from a child, from like 3rd grade, I was like, I'm a Georgia Tech fan. So now I'm in like Georgia country. You got the Georgia hat on.
Yeah, it's a nice little accessory for the rainy day.
Okay, so it's more of an accessory as opposed to you having a deep like bulldog love, or
being from Georgia, and both my mom and my father's families those sides are from Georgia. We've had people to attend Georgia. No, not really. I hate to say this. I feel like I'm going to get. Please don't. Don't.
Gonna get some hate mail.
Yeah, don't hate.
Send
me in the
hate
comments.
tweets to.
But I root for Georgia every time they go to any type of playoff or national.
Okay, well that's fair.
And
enough.
I almost committed. I almost, oh God, they almost got me in the stands at Auburn because I went to the Auburn versus Georgia game and I wore my Georgia hat in the Auburn student section. I did.
Were you getting some
feedback? Surprisingly, of course, they knew that I was a Savannaian through and through. And I always talked about, I love home. I love coastal living. Yay, Georgia. Alabama.
Okay.
And so I think they expected that from me, but that was probably one of the memorable moments of going of my Auburn career. Throughout my Auburn career was wearing that Georgia hat and not getting killed
and not getting destroyed.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Spelman too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a historically black university that's female.
Number 1 for 18 years in a row. Woo. Yeah.
Number 1 for what metrics?
HBCU in the country.
Okay, they kind of judge that based off
of course, merit. I'm assuming, I hate to say public relations, but of course, you have to have a good standing in the public. Enrollment, as far as just how popular, and we're growing every year as far as the amount of freshmen that want to come. There's like this newfound surge. I feel like that kind of happens every 10 or 5 or 10 years.
Okay. People get more interested, more dedicated
in coming and investing in our HBCUs. And actually, Spelman was not first on my list. I went to Savannah Arts Academy, class of 2013.
Nice.
And I thought that I was going to SCAD. And that's actually a part of my story, so I won't tell it a little too much before we dive in. And I remember I visited Spelman's campus when we were going on the Atlanta college tour, my mom and my sisters and I. And I don't know, it was just something that stuck with me about that campus.
It just kind of won you over.
That said, I need to be here. And Spelman's motto is a choice to change the world. And it was just so great to just... at 18, that's scary to have that charge. What are you going to do to change the world?
Wow, yeah.
And then here I am, founder of Operation One STEM at a Time. And so you're thinking about all of these things that you stumble upon during your journey. And it's this is what I'm doing to change the world. It finally clicks for you. So STEM was great. I can go on and on about my experience. But I would say that experience probably changed the trajectory of my life. Yeah.
What was your focus there? One of my friends... I think she's still there, has taught there for the last, I don't know how many years, maybe 4 or 5 years. Her name is Stella Lee. Okay. I don't know, what was your focus when you were at Spelman?
So I was a math major. And so basically what you had to do during the dual degree engineering program was you had to choose a science or STEM related, major while you were at, because Spelman is historically a liberal arts college. And so we didn't have all of the, civil engineering and electrical engineering, et cetera. But they saw the need to, produce Black women, to become engineers and also promote this field, of course, that we're so scarce in. And so that's when they created this dual degree engineering program to where you have agreements between partner schools. So of course, Georgia Tech was the first one because, of course, we're in Atlanta. And then, of course, Auburn, so many different schools. I believe we have Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. But there's so many different schools around the country that you can essentially you transfer to. But of course, it's kind of like that's your second school on your dual degree track. And so you finish out your whatever your engineering discipline may be.
Okay, so engineering was the thing. You mentioned the organization that you started one STEM at a time, so I can hear the engineering component there just in the name STEM. Before we get there, though, we highlight youth mentoring every week in some form or fashion, hopefully through storytelling and conversation, or sometimes it's just through informational parts, letting people know here on the Savannah Youth Mentoring Hub about what's available, what's around them, all that good stuff. So let's just think about your mentor journey.
Yes.
When you were the one perhaps receiving or not receiving the mentoring that you had hoped for. As you kind of think back to your own childhood or high school or even, as a young adult, what was it like for you being mentored, and who are some people you can shout out, or
Ooh,
what do you
lots.
wish you had gotten? Okay.
Lots of people. So actually one of my mentors, and actually shout out, she just got an award from SECPSS, so Barbara Foley. She was over the Explore Post program. And so that was actually my very first mentoring experience. I was a junior at Savannah Arts Academy. And that's around the time, of course, you're thinking about college, like what college am I going to, what track, etc. And so I remember I thought that I was going to be the next Dawn Baker. So I said,
Oh,
I'm
nice.
going to, I don't know if you can tell that I love to talk. I love people. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to go to SCAD and I'm going to fashion journalism, something along those lines to where communication and creativity just kind of mesh together.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Barbara Fuller, she's actually on my board for Operation One Stone. She called me and said, hey, Ambria.
And at the time, she was working.
She was a part of the SECPSS program.
Okay.
So she was the director of the Explore Post program. So you could, do a communications track, an engineering track, or a medical track. So whichever part of the program that you got accepted to, you spent about a year or 2 years shadowing. And they still have it, so look out for that, public school kids. But they, you spend that year or two shadowing a local business or person at a business, in Savannah or entity. And so she called me and said, well, Ambria, communications is all full. But I think based off of, your interview and what you told me that you like to do and are you interested in and things like that, I really think that, and your grades, I really think that you should just, we don't have that many children in the engineering portion. So I think you should try the engineering portion. And shout out to my mother and Miss Barbara Fuller, because I was just like, yuck, no way.
I was going to say, what would have drawn you into that world to begin with? Was that
fit
your personality?
Just literally having a mentor and having people in your life that can see over the hill before you can see it and just kind of push you to try something new. And literally that is how I started engineering. And I have no problem saying that I was introduced, because I always say in my talks or conversations, you can tell a child to be this lawyer, this doctor, this engineer, but if you don't have the tools, exposure leads to expansion. If you are not exposed to something or that component that really just makes it click for you, it's always going to just kind of be a what if.
It's an idea, but
but it's not fostered or it's not cultivated. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And literally, I know I said the last experience changed the trajectory of my life, but this really started it all for me. I was an explorer for Thomas and Hutton for 2 years. Shout out to Mr. Sam McCatchen, CEO of Thomas and Hutton, and Jason Chambliss, VP. And they still keep up to me to this day. And it's literally, we learned how to read blueprints, how to survey. And I really learned that engineering is really kind of this melting pot of all of my interests. So I could design, I could, have a community engagement component because I love talking with people, communication. I was never really bad at science and math, so there was that component to where I can kind of shine on the technical side. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of challenged my mind, critical thinking. I love to just kind of sit and, think about, how to be innovative, right? And so that's how the fall of that year, I started at Spelman College in their dual degree engineering program, and I never looked back. Fall of 2013, and a part of why I'm sitting here in front of you today. So that was one mentor. And then while I was at Spelman College, and I will say this for my young girls that are listening that are in any field at all, but specifically, of course, a STEM field where it's really hard, it's male dominated. There have been times that I've been the only person of color and the only woman in a particular maybe group, right?
When you get in those kind of situations, mm-hmm. not to interrupt you, but no, is that, and I guess it could change too as time goes on, the more you're in that room,
yes,
as that represented, but
mm-hmm.
Did it start off that was intimidating, or was it like
Absolutely.
knowing, oh, you know what, I am on the right track, mm-hmm. or oh shoot, am I making a mistake? What was kind of
all of these things? Of course, you go through imposter syndrome.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course, ladies, you may be sitting next to this man in the conference room and you may know 10 times more than him, but he's making 10 times more than you. Just things that you have to keep reminding yourself. You're here for a reason. You know this information. Have confidence. And even though I'm sitting here saying this now. Of course, I have my days where I doubt myself, but of course, I have mentors that pour into me so that I'm able to pour into my, my young girls that I mentor throughout, the city of Savannah or just Chatham County. And so, Melanie Welch, I participated in this program via where Spelman and Georgia Power partnered, and she was an engineering major actually at Mississippi State, but she was from Auburn, so it was just a funny the crossover. She gave me my first tour of Auburn University. She was just like, well, I actually went with her to present a scholarship. And at her small high school in, you're from Alabama, so you may know it's Lochapoka, Opelika area.
Oh, Opelika, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And she was just like, well, just come and ride with me and, present the scholarship. And so I said, okay. And she was, like I said, an electrical engineering major, but I forgot what her position was at Georgia Power. And so still keeps up with me to this day. And she said, well, since we have such extra time before we go back to Atlanta, let's just drive past the Auburn campus. And I was like, I don't know why you're doing this. I'm not going here. And
was that part of her plan?
I think it was a part of her evil plan. But again, having people that kind of see it before you do, or they can help you water the dream before it even forms in your mind, or just the idea, like you were saying, that I can do this, I can be here. And again, all of these ladies, like I said, Miss Barbara is a part of my board, one of my board of directors for Operation One STEM. Miss Melanie texts me every now and then, hey, how's it going? Do you need any help, or can you help me with X, Y, and Z? So again, I don't think, of course, you're going to always have different mentors in different seasons in your life. They may be here for a couple of months, they may be here for a couple of years, but it's always going to be pockets to where sometimes you're pouring into your mentor, they're pouring into me. And these people that I've known since I was 18, 19, they're still pouring into me at 30 years old. And so, those are my two big mentor stories.
Okay, that's good. That's good. We'll get into a little bit more about what you're doing now and maybe even what you thought you were going to do. Okay, we'll take a short break here on 107.5 FM because there are things we want you to be aware of happening in the community. This is a community station with global soul, but the community part is important because everyone who has a show here on WRUU 107.5 FM is a volunteer. Every show is about local people, talking to local people, sharing local things. And obviously there's shows that people curate musically that's not just local music. It's a variety of things. You can find great indie songs that you've never heard that get played throughout the day. You'll have African soul, and you'll have political talk shows, and there's parenting show, and there's just a whole variety, a smorgasbord, you might say, of all these things happening on this radio station. So take a short break so you can hear about a couple things coming up, and then we'll come back with our conversation with Bria here in a moment. Okay, we are back here on the Savannah Youth Mentoring Hub radio show podcast, talking with Miss Ambria. Tell me your last name again.
Berksteiner.
Sorry, Berksteiner. That's another
a very unique name.
Berksteiner.
Yes.
That sounds like it has a whole story behind it too.
It does.
Doesn't sound like, oh yeah, the Berksteiner crew from Savannah. That doesn't sound like...
No, that's literally it. Every time someone sees me or I'm around town and they may say my name out loud, everyone's like, hey, are you related to those Berksteiners?
Okay, so there is like a lineage of Berksteiners?
My dad's family, and I don't want to sound like a Savannah snob, but my dad's family has been, I can probably count back about 5 or 6 generations, and my dad is born and raised. And are you familiar with the Sandfly area?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. I've only been there a couple of years.
My dad, besides the first house that him and my mom bought, has lived on the same street his entire life. Just changed homes. And so Sandfly,
on that same street.
Sandfly has a lot of family land, and we have family land out there. And so my dad, I was like, Dad, do you realize you've never, over 90% of your life, you've lived on this same street? Yeah. Just changed addresses, or they built, homes out there to kind of just live in. And so it's, like I said, it's pretty good. I really do feel like Savannah is a part of me, obviously. So, yeah.
For generations and generations.
Literally for generations, yeah.
All right, before we took a little break, talked about some of the journey of receiving mentoring and guiding, in particular to kind of help lead you to a career path, or at least the academic pursuits, kind of what you did, where you went, the programs you were looking at. And then as you're finishing up this engineering, well, what was the actual degree?
So I went in for math and industrial engineering, and it's so funny because now I'm inching more into the urban planning space. So I'm a transportation planner for Chatham Area Transit here in Savannah, Georgia. That's my day job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when I'm not out saving the world and being mentor in chief.
Okay. So what did you think you were going to do at first?
Oh gosh, so
as you were hitting the next graduation of upper education, and you're thinking, all right.
So I thought that I was going to be at Georgia Power. I thought that I was going to be, and I'm actually going to tell a funny story. I was actually a student intern for Honda, the Honda plant that was in Lincoln, Alabama, for about a semester. And that was the COVID year. So that was before everything shut down.
Okay.
And so the first day they gave me a hard hat and these bulky boots and the glasses.
I just felt at home. You're like,
no. I actually was like, well, I don't know about this.
The designer inside of you was dying.
I was just like, I don't know if plant life is for me. So I knew instantly that if I was going to work at a plant, I was definitely going to be one of the people in the office and not necessarily running around on the floor. No offense to anyone that does that job, but I knew that wasn't for me.
It just didn't feel right.
It just didn't feel right. And so then it's so funny. So I actually did some political work before I know I've had like this whole array of this background. But everyone's always like, oh, you're so great with people. After Miss Savannah, I really got immersed into local politics and local and national, obviously. And so I knew a couple of people in that political world, and they said, oh, your background is great. Do you want to work on the Abrams campaign? And just easy as that. Okay. And I said...
And this is around that 2020 time?
21. Well, when she ran the second time. Second time. And so I said, okay, great. And I did some political work for a while. One of the greatest opportunities of my life.
Oh, was it good?
Kind of traveling around. I got to introduce our company.
See, because sometimes the more you get behind the curtain of a thing, it can be overwhelming or like, oh, wait a minute, this is not what I thought.
And I actually love to talk about my different experiences that were not engineering based or, had a foundation in engineering, because it can show how eclectic an engineer can be, or how we can kind of get thrown into any career situation, and we'll be okay. We'll be fine. And then I was the STEM program manager for Girl Scouts of Historic Georgia here in Savannah. And so,
nice.
They knew about my.
Were you a Girl Scout growing up, or
not? My sisters were, but I was not. Well, myself and my twin, we were not Girl Scouts. So you would have thought. But I'm an avid Girl Scout cookie eater. So.
There you go. That balances it out.
I feel like in Savannah, you have to have your Girl Scout cookies.
Once you've eaten so many Girl Scout cookies,
it
kind of gets you over into Girl.
You're a Girl Scout.
But I guess I'm a Girl Scout.
And so I fell into transportation planning and working in the planning and infrastructure development department for Chatham Area Transit. And at first, I was just like, transportation.
How did that come up?
Our housing, just people. Honestly, again, mentors and having. Individuals that kind of know about your background and know about your different interests and talents and what you've done, just throughout your career and my eclectic career as an engineer. And so they said, this would be really great for you. You really care. Again, you care about your community. So why not get into community development and just look into planning? And so I said, okay, honestly, I'm about to go back to school again for a master's in urban planning. A professional
right
student.
Now you're about to go. Okay.
And so I really think that, yes, always will be an engineer at heart, but I really think that planning is like that niche career that falls under the umbrella of engineering that, again, would not be revealed to you unless you had a mentor or someone, or unless you're in politically, I would say politically, and also having somebody that's in that field that kind of can introduce you to urban planning. And so I'm excited to just kind of be a part. And again, I'm expanding transportation in Chatham County, but being a part of that development for a community that has helped develop me in a lot of ways.
That's a cool way to look at it. Yeah, when you say urban planning, break that down of what that looks like. Because my first, I was like, urban planning. This has to do with how streets are formed,
yes.
Like the literal urban
So,
space, like logistics,
yeah.
but maybe there's
Basically, that's what it is. And so I don't think a lot of people know that there's actually city planners that plan out what you were just saying, plan out cities. So there's
we think about it when like the storm water gets backed up.
yeah, of course you
Then
think about it
people
when
start
there's an
thinking about
inconvenience.
then like what are people doing when they
Yes.
plan this city?
Or
When you go throughout your regular day and you only stay at a traffic light for a minute, or
and you
it's
don't
an
know,
easy pull off to the
yeah.
right to get this resource, or
Mhm.
this thing is convenient. It's just the
And
way
you
it's
don't know
supposed to
about
be.
who plans that. Like
Yeah,
you
but
don't
all the
really
strategy
think
that
about
goes
it.
into it. Yeah, you don't.
Yes. Same thing with transportation. You're thinking that it's just a bus and a schedule. No. You have to be in compliance with like FTA and the county and the city. And you can't just say, I want this bus stop at Habersham and Price or something like that. Like you have to, it's a whole process.
There's a whole strategy behind
planning
it, research
process.
behind it.
And so basically there's some of the sectors that I can name off the top of my head because there's could be a plethora. There's land use, there's housing. So a lot of you all probably see a lot of the advocacy around affordable housing. That's a part of planning. Planning out that density. Like, is this going to be a single family home, or is this going to be an apartment complex that
Right.
has a density of 100 residents, X, Y, and Z. Again, elements of engineering flow into planning because how are we going to optimize this space to better serve Savannah for right now and the future? What else can I think of? That traffic planning falls under, planning as a whole under the umbrella. And there's one more. Oh, environmental. So again, all of these components come together to make sure your city or your space is as sustainable, economically pleasing. You're not spending all that money, environmentally sound. I already said sustainable, but also, oh gosh, what's the word that I'm looking for? Innovative. And so that's why I'm definitely like, okay, this, honestly, if I would have known about planning a little bit, I mean, it's a segue from engineering, but it's kind of right. They're right there. If I would have known about it a little bit more, I probably would have gone into a planning program probably right after Spelman.
Okay, so this is kind of a sweet spot.
I think this is really the career that kind of lumps it together. And I'm saying this for anyone listening because here I am at 30 saying, this is it. This is where I want to be. But of course, having those mentors and these experiences are mentors to expose you to those experiences so that you can continue to evolve and figure it out. And it's okay. You don't necessarily have to stay. Well, if you're a person that wants to kind of stay in one career, that's okay. Great. But of course, if you're still trying to just figure out, is this specifically the path that I want to follow, it's great to have those people to just kind of expose that to you to say, oh, here it goes. And it's never too late. Never too late.
Yeah. Again, we're here talking with Ambria, a local Savannian through and through, has spent time in Alabama, obviously at Auburn, and in Spelman. They're in the Atlanta area. And we're going to get to one STEM at a time. And just a reminder, if someone's listening right now, you're in your car, you're like, oh, about to get out, about to go back to work, you can catch any episode that we've ever done, which has only started in January. So it's a few months. But all the episodes we have, including what we're doing right now. So if you want to pick this back up, if you're about to get out, don't worry. You can still hear what's happening. You can go on WRUU.org. You can look for the Savannah Youth Mentoring Hub, and then you can see all the previous conversations we've had. You can listen to them. Or you can go to the SAVYouthMentoring.org website, and they're all cataloged, something. I don't know what the term is. They're all there also. You see at the very top, it says, here, check out our podcast, so you can listen to those as well. But okay, so before we get to one STEM at a time, go back for a second to childhood. What did you see, perhaps, that other people did, and you thought, oh, that's what I want to be one day? Maybe not just career, but even think maybe it was your parents or other adults, people from church, teachers, whoever, or just older friends. Like, man, the way they interact with kids, or the way they interact with people like me, or the way they treat me, I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to. What are those little glimpses that maybe?
That's actually a really good question. I would say because my mom was very nurturing and she was a teacher, I would say, I hate to give the cliche answer of, I love all of my teacher, by the way, but a teacher, but I won't say necessarily a teacher because I don't know how teachers do it. I heavily applaud them because I'm only around, my specific group for a periods of time throughout maybe the month or the week or a specific day, throughout the week, and they're with our children every day. So just kudos to them because they are, you spend more time sometimes with your teachers than you do your parents.
Yeah, 8 hours a day. That's a lot of time.
So just, the nurturing that I saw, not even from her, but just her colleagues that were teachers as well, or educators as well. I have a lot of educators in my family. And how they were able to that exposure, that one moment could literally just change a child's life. Or even I have students that from my mother's old students that would come up to me today and say, oh, we love Miss Berksteiner. Like we did X, Y, and Z, or I remember when we did this. Even my kindergarten teacher, Miss Dempsey, wherever you are, I think her first name was Jennifer. We used to do the most innovative things at Hess Elementary, like just the greatest projects and just the most creative, out of the box lessons that would just kind of that have stuck with me, right? For the past 25 years. Oh gosh, I'm aging myself. Sorry, you guys. But I would say that, also, who was the next? I don't know. I just always loved a good businesswoman. Okay. I don't know. I hate this. I can't really pinpoint it down to one person, but so it's so funny because everyone's like, Ambria, you should get into politics or run, just as a running joke because I'm just around politics so much. And I say, okay, no. I said, I can be, I don't know how many people watch Scandal, but I was like, I don't think I could be like a Fitz, but definitely an Olivia Pope. Like I could handle it, like behind the scenes, oh, get it together. Or like not Barack, but Michelle, just kind of holding it together behind the scenes, like not necessarily behind the scenes, but you're right there. Making sure it gets done and making sure that you're pushing the mission that you probably want to, I don't know if Olivia is probably the best, example, but just her work. But yeah. So I would say a good businesswoman, a good teacher, and I don't know if I can say, I would say grandmother and mom again. And because to me, being a mom is a job, as well. That's a career.
Yeah.
And, just the lessons that I think that I've learned from just my mother and my mother's mother who's still living. She's 91, and just those pockets of how they are able to keep the family unit together and, just let things roll off their back and, just really not, if they're sweating, you won't see them, they'll sweat behind the scenes, but they're just holding it together for you and keeping, encouraging you. But also, I think they were moms that feel like that learned from their children, but they also taught their children at the same time. And you didn't probably feel like you knew they laid law, but you knew they loved you as to why they laid down that, the hard laws, but we also had fun at the same time. And so I hope I'll be able to pass that on. And I'm just, throwing that mom component in for Mother's Day coming up. So,
okay.
So yeah, I'm throwing those three careers out there. Yeah.
What got you to one STEM at a time?
So, Spelman is not cheap for anyone that wants to Google Spelman College. Okay. It is a private HBCU. So, we're looking at and it was my sister and I. My sister and I were roommates at Spelman College. So $40,000 a year times 2, ching. So my parents were like,
Yeah, it's a chunk.
And you have your financial aid and you have your scholarships that you're able to get, but there's always that little bit of extra where it's like, where is this going to come from? And so my cousin actually was Miss America 2004, Erica Dunlap. And
Miss America.
Miss America, yep.
Okay.
And so shout out to you, Erica. Hi. But we were I was exposed to that, but of course I was in 5th grade, I think, where she won. So I was just like, oh, cool. Yeah. So when I got older and I was 18 or 19, and I saw that it didn't matter in some pageants if you won the crown or not. If you placed, if you won like Miss Congeniality or some sort of interview award, you could get a cash prize or money. And I said, ooh, like a nice gown. I could focus on pageants are great because you can sharpen your communication skills. You meet girls from all walks of life and from all over. It's literally like its own world. You're meeting people from just, like I said, all corners of maybe Georgia or the Southeast. And it really sharpens your skills as far as like current events, just being up to date on what's happening in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I won the title of Miss Savannah and I was moving on to Miss Georgia, they told me, you are going to, well, actually, let me rewind it. I told my mom, I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to do this. And she was just like, yeah, right. Like, I'm not helping. This is a lot of work. And I said, no, I'm going to do this. And so I literally filled out the paperwork. I had, the confidence. She had the confidence. But of course, moms are like, I'm not going to help you. But then they end up helping you. So that's literally what happened.
Just kind of wanted to make sure it was something you really wanted.
Yes, I think that's what it really was. I think she was just kind of like, okay, Bria, this is your, niche of the month type of thing. Yeah. And so I did it. In my first pageant, I can't remember. I think it was Miss Georgia Collegiate Pageant. And then I think my mom saw the potential and was like, we could do this. Like, I think you could do this. And I was like, I think I can too. So from then on, it was like full speed. And of course, again, that imposter syndrome, because some of these girls have been participating and competing in pageants since they were like babies. Right? So, of course, here I am coming in, 19 years later, or 19 years too late, and they're starting at like 1 or 2. But I would say with pageantry is never too late. You can always find a system that caters to you and kind of, what you feel like you want to advocate for as far as, your community, giving back to your community. So Miss America is very volunteer based. They want to know about your platform, which I'm going to talk about, which was what Operation One Step at a Time started as. But Miss USA is also about community service and, being that community representative. But of course, they're more, I don't like to say the word beauty pageant or the phrase beauty pageant, but they're more model-esque based. So of course, and they have different pageants. If you're in school, Little Miss Left-Handed, I'm just making up something, but there's something for everyone. And so I started to compete in pageants and win and, get a little bit of money here and there. And when I won Miss Savannah, I was going to Miss Georgia, they said you have to create a platform that not only embodies what you believe in, but that could also serve the people in Savannah somehow. And so I was just thinking, and literally Operation One Step at a Time started. I don't even know if kids at home know what this is anymore, but like a notepad or like a legal pad. Mm-hmm. It started out as bullet points on a piece of paper.
19?
When I was in my dorm room at Spelman College when I was 19 years old. And I just said, I want a program where I'm serving young girls. I want a program based in STEM. And I had like all these different names for it. And we finally, the first name was like Operation Changing the World One Step at a Time. So I was trying to throw in that Spelman charge. And so I shortened it to Operation One Step at a Time. And so, like I said, that was my changing the world moment. Like it literally just started as an idea. And I remember being a senior at Spelman and I said to myself, like, my mom was like, this is when, of course, I was going on to Auburn. And of course, I was 21, 22 at the time. So I was just trying to graduate. I was like, I'm so tired. Like, I don't know if I don't want to do this anymore. Because it was supposed to be a year-long platform, right? It wasn't supposed to last this long. But we saw the feedback that we were getting from the community.
So at that time then, like, here's a platform that you need. I'm guessing some people are choosing platforms of things that already exist.
Yeah.
They might say like
something dealing with maybe like autism awareness or there's a lot of STEM platforms and things like that.
They're not necessarily starting a new program or thing as their platform. Some
actually,
might,
a lot of individuals don't. It's very rare. They'll choose a platform to advocate for.
Yes, okay.
And I think what made mine so...
But you actually wanted to start...
unique at a time is because I wanted to start this program. And literally I told the alumni leadership team at Spelman, I said, hey, it's reunion. I was a Spelman campus queen at the time as well. And so I said, hey, let me take the reunioners' children, because they had like a little daycare service during reunion week where they watched the kids while the adults had their fun. for reunion time. And I said, let me just do a couple of activities with them. And literally Operation One Step at a Time started in my dorm room as far as the idea, the concept. And my very first meetup was at Spelman College with a good, I would say 20 girls, and they were the children of alumni at Spelman College. And then I came back to Savannah, and it just kind of took off.
Came back to Savannah. How old are you at that time?
21, 22. So, of course, in between that, Spelman and Auburn transition. And so what we did to really reach out, and I say we because my mom, like I said, really helped to kind of get it out there. And again, this is when I still had my title. So I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to reach out to, these groups of girls in Savannah? Of course, the school system, but what about, these clubs or, these mentoring or these youth groups that I could kind of reach out to? And so I reached out to various entities, like the 21st Century Program, which is an after-school program, with SCCPSS. I was their STEM component for that summer, 2017, 2018. And I also worked with, who did I work with at that time? St. Joseph's Candler, their African American Resource Center, offering their girls, they had a mentoring group of girls, and so giving STEM components. So we really started out as a contract service of some sorts, or a service on demand, to where they invite, of course, I'm Miss Savannah, so they're inviting me out. Hey, you're the STEM queen. Can you come out and, talk to my class, or can you come out and, lead an activity with my group of girls? And that's what we started out as. And, it was so funny because then in 2017, my mom was just like, or even the people around me that were experiencing Operation One STEM were like, you really need to turn this to a nonprofit. Like, go ahead and, get your paperwork together. And this.
That's nice to hear when people are observing what you're doing and saying you should keep going. You should take the next step.
Especially when you're just like, oh, I'm so drained.
Yeah.
And so I said, no, this is just a platform. Again, having people in your life that can see, like I said, over the hill, or see the idea before you can, or before it forms. And it's so funny now, Operation will have been in operation 10 years next year, because it's 2016. So 2026 is next year.
Okay.
And now we partnered with Myers Middle School. There's a mentoring group that I started, Budding STEMs. We're gearing up for Operation Summer. I have new details about that on my various social media platforms. We visit various SCCPSS schools for their STEAM nights, and we do various visits to schools to lead STEM events and STEM-led activities. And our goal is just to exposure. Like I said, exposure leads to expansion. I always make sure we open up our board meetings with that, because that's what the goal or the mission of Operation One Step at a Time is to do. We're exposing these young girls or these young children so that they can say, hey, I can be Miss Ambria, right? And so I'm just blessed to, I would say, in the past 3-4 years, we've, I don't want to say tripled and quadrupled as far as just the demand of Operation One Step at a Time, to where now we're expanding our volunteer services, or just, volunteer, I would say hours, but volunteer groups, actually needing people to help us.
Well, what does that look like then? If a child is attending a One Step at a Time thing, is it workshop style? Yes,
workshop based. And of course, we always have that mentorship component of some sort, whether that's by way of me or a guest speaker. And so, some of the things, I guess if I can just list off. So last year we had a STEM cooking camp. And so we partnered with the Creative Coast, now their startup Savannah, last year. And so we always partnered for the past few years on our STEAM lessons, or STEM camps. And so we led classes at WW Law Community Center and Park Resource Center across from Savannah High. And they learned the science behind gummy bears, like your gummy candies, that's chemistry, ice cream, just learning about the things that you eat every day and that's so yummy. You're learning the science behind that. And so I always try to find a way to grab their attention. But then at the end of the day or the end of the week, we always circle back to that mentorship component of you can be whatever you want to be. Whether that's STEM based or not, there's always going to be some sort of STEM component in whatever, you decide to pursue when you get older. And it has just been the highlight of my life. I would say it's always like, oh, I mentor these young kids, and I'm teaching them to be model citizens and exposing them to these STEM-based careers and components, but I'm really learning from them as well, because a lot of them come from different socioeconomic backgrounds. A lot of them come from all walks of life, and of course, learning that no child is the same. And that kind of keeps me sharp as a teacher. I'm calling myself a teacher, but that keeps me sharp as a mentor and a teacher to say, like, hey, not every child that comes my way is going to be the same type of, child. How can I evolve as that mentor to make sure that I'm giving them that best service that I can give them myself or whoever, is a part of team operation at the time. And shout out to my board of 9 lovely people who are various members of the community here in Savannah, and actually a lot of them I've met along the way on my STEM journey. Like I said, Miss Barbara Foley was the first one that said, hey, try out,
should look into this engineering thing,
this engineering program. And so I'm just blessed to be able to reach out to these young girls. I didn't even mention the age that I mentor.
Okay.
So during the summer, it's more of a mixture. So when we have hashtag Operation Summer, when we host that camp, we also teach young boys as well. I think a lot of people think, we focus on young girls, but during the summer, we make sure we take in, our young boys, because of course they need that exposure as well.
This is a week-long camp type
during
experience?
Our camp. So last year we were able to, and we have a junior counselor spot. So look out for on social media for those a local high schooler if you would love to be a junior camp counselor. But it's a week-long camp in June and July. And we've had Soar and STEM, discovering our planets and stars and doing really fun things. And we had our cooking STEM class, our STEM Wars class, where we were having those STEM and chemistry components behind the food process. And so I'm just grateful to have various partners like I keep saying the Creative Coast, now Startup Savannah, and the City of Savannah, etc., and of course Live Oak Public Libraries, etc. All these entities that come together and kind of help Operation Summer, especially since even though Operation has been around for 10 years, we're still developing nonprofit of some sorts as far as when it comes to funding and just size.
Mm-hmm.
And so they offer a lot of resources to us to make sure we can, house these camps and be able to serve the young students here in Savannah. And also look out for our summer information that's coming up in a couple of weeks for what we plan to do in July. We're only doing 1 week in July this year, but look out. It's coming soon, hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
And look out on
our socials. So
okay.
Our website is www.onestem@a-time.org. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Operation One STEM at a Time.
Operation One STEM at a Time.
And you can find all of us in our updates and just the wonderful things that we're doing. Trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. I definitely want to highlight that our first pilot program, our pilot group with Budding Stems, our Budding Stems mentoring group at Myers Middle School, is graduating next week. So look out, you'll see that on our socials. And so I'm very cool. excited to send our first group of 8th graders on to high school. And so that is actually, I don't think I mentioned that, but Operation One STEM at a Time focuses mainly on girls between 5th and 8th grade, because that's the gray area.
And this is what's happening during the school year.
Yes, that is the program that happens throughout the school year.
Myers?
Yes.
In particular, is that the main location for the school time?
Yes, that's the main
program,
location.
Whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
and then the summer. Okay, go ahead.
We meet monthly, one day out of the month, 1 or 2 meetings out of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking to expand. So one, I can't announce it now, but one other middle school reached out to us to expand Budding Stems to another middle school location with SECPSS. So it's been great partnering with them. Like I said, going from just being that contracted service to where we were just kind of, call, and we were on demand, a call and service. Hey, come bring some STEM, to us. So now, going from that to now serving the community via all of these community events, STEAM nights. We just did the STEAM conference with SCPSS, like just various, I would say now we're spreading out to where it's kind of like, hey, come here. And it's more community oriented to now where we're focusing on, then we went to Operation Summer, and we were known for not only our on-demand service or service to where we would, bring mentorship it to them, will stem to them by way of mentorship and activity, but we're also reaching out via summer camp. And now we have our very own, which is expanding soon, our very own year-round, mentoring group. So it's just great how this one idea and kind of this popcorn idea to kind of where we were all over Savannah, like, hey, just call me and I'm coming, to where it's literally now we're having a lot of stability and just making waves within different, the nonprofit sector, the educational sector here in Savannah, and also just the community sector. I feel like community has been very good to Operation One STEM at a Time through by way of mouth. Just, hey, I know, Ambria Berksteiner, her organization, our Operation One STEM at a Time, is doing great things, to where we were working with like Jack and Jill and Savannah State, and just are the Georgia Tech Professional Campus here in Savannah. And so it's just been a great ride, a great ride of fun.
If someone wanted to join in on that as a volunteer, as a mentor, as a supporter, what does that look like? What would they do? How do they make the contact?
And we are looking for you. I tried to deny it for so long. You know how you just kind of deny your success and you're like, I don't need, X amount of volunteers. We're not in demand like that. But yes, we are. So for anyone listening, again, visit www.onestemataTime.org. You will see that there is a form that you can fill out if you are interested in volunteering. We will receive that message, and of course you will be added to our mailing list, where you will learn about all the events to which you can join. However, to make it more I would say intimate, or just so you can learn a little bit more about Operation One STEM at a Time and our mission, we are going to start hosting volunteer info sessions virtually. So please look out for that on all of our social media platforms, because we are realizing that even though Team Operation One STEM at a Time is mighty, we need a lot more hands to kind of help make it happen. And that's great. That means we're growing. And that means that Savannah wants us here. We're here to stay. And that is great. Also for our high schoolers, the same thing. It is the same process. Just fill out that volunteer form. Of course, mention that you are a high schooler and that you need, X, Y, and Z hours. Some of our opportunities are paid, so be on the lookout for that as well. I always say social media is just our way that we kind of get out our information, and we're pretty up to date. So you'll kind of know what's going on.
And that's on Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, our website. We make sure we try to update our events page as often as we can. So just keep a lookout. And I can't announce who we're partnering with for our summer camps just yet, but I'm excited.
Okay.
So
coming soon.
Yes, coming soon in the next 2 weeks.
Parents can sign up.
Yes, so
now,
parents, yes.
Boys and girls.
So once we announce who we're partnering with, you will be able to register with that entity, because they're handling our registration on their side. You should be able to register with that entity, and you will be a part of Operation Summer for the summer. And at times, these camps are often free or low cost. So very pocket friendly for the summer. And of course, if we ever do a session, it's always a weekly session or a Saturday session or an afternoon session of some sorts, but you will find out about what our specific schedule will be in the next coming weeks.
I gotcha. Very nice. Ambria, thank you for hanging out with us here on a Friday morning. Every Friday morning, 11 to 12, we're here with the Savannah Youth Mentoring Hub radio podcast, and every Friday as we close out our time with a special guest, or sometimes when you're just stuck with me, we still close them out all the same way. We share a song. This could be a song that inspires you just in a day-to-day world to do what you do, or it could be for this mission itself or whatever. So what song are you going to leave us with this morning?
Okay, so I'm probably going to choose Alicia Keys' Girl on Fire.
Oh, I love that song.
I feel as though that really embodies not only Operation One STEM at a Time's mission, but just the dream of every girl. This girl is on fire. She's just a girl and she's on fire. The meaning of the song is just, helping that girl to find her way so that she can, be we can help them, we can be this catalyst to help launch them, right? So now this girl is on fire. And I definitely feel like that is what a mentor's job is to do, is to, just kind of, like I said, expose them so that they can expand and just, launch themselves into the world. And so that just like I had the choice to change the world, they can, have that choice to change the world too. And, expose another young girl so that they can expand.
Yeah. Well said. Excellent. Well, again, thank you for your time. Thanks for being here this morning. We'll have Alicia Keys take us out. Girl on Fire. Thank you for being with us today, all you that have been listening. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you next week.